Let's talk about the 3 things I struggled with when I left as a Jehovah's Witness. Let's get into it. Hey, and welcome back to Same Old Tea. In today's video, I want to talk about 3 areas of my life I struggled with a bit when I left the Jehovah's Witnesses over 8 years ago. Number 1, I was not prepared for the flood of emotions and thoughts that I had when it came to what to believe in. Realizing that the Jehovah's Witness and their teachings was not, true. It made me question everything. So even though I was born and raised Baptist, went to a Catholic high school, even part of my elementary school went to Catholic school, I used to listen to Farrakhan, and my grandma and granddaddy would get the final calls. I would read those. I mean, even like as a teenager, I would read the Awakes, and found them to be, pretty interesting when they would come and leave them, from time to time. And so you take all these religious, spiritual experiences. I become a Jehovah's Witness as an adult and leave, about 12 years after getting baptized. And you don't know what to believe. And so what I would wish I had known is that that's okay. And it's actually normal. So I struggled sometimes because some days I'm like, I don't even know if a God exists, right? Because of my JW experience, because I'm looking at the world around me, and things of that nature. So then some days it's like, well, is Jesus God? Or is he God's son? As a young kid, I never did, I don't want to say accept, I didn't, I guess, believe in the Trinity. Like, how can they be 3 in 1? Right? My little young mind rationalization was, when Jesus died on the cross, and if he was God, instead of looking up and saying, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do, wouldn't he look down and say, I forgive you for you know not what you do, if he's God? So that's where my mind was going as a little kid, as y'all can see, right? So when I left, my religious, spiritual understanding, beliefs was all over the place. And with that, it did come with tremendous guilt. Because it's like, how dare I, sorry, I was just watering. How dare I have doubts about, does God exist? Just taking in my whole life, experience. How dare you say that? If you say that, you might as well just, be the devil's little cousin, right? But yeah, I struggled with that. And for anybody who may find themselves with the same kind of thoughts and emotions, I'm going to tell you, it's okay. It's okay. You don't have to rush to, solidify what your new beliefs are, or things of that nature. I mean, heck, if you still, believe in the God that the JWs present as that, but you just don't want to be a part of the organization, do what brings you comfort. That's one of the things I struggle, and I'm at peace with it now. I get this question a lot. Well, what do you believe now? Depending on the day, it might change. But to put it in a nutshell, I do believe that there's something bigger than all of us. What that thing is, I don't know. I'm not trying to have an influence on anybody's thinking, if that makes sense. But as far as something bigger than all of us, I do believe that something bigger than us does exist. I refer to it as the Creator, Almighty, Sometimes I refer to it as God, Lord, but I also do believe in the energy and the power of the universe, as well as the ancestors working on my behalf. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it took me a while to get to this place to be comfortable with what that is, right? Because people want you to put a label on it. Are you Christian? Are you Muslim? Are you Buddhist? Are you non-denominational? Are you this, that? It's like, ooh, it's too much. I just been through all that labeling. I'm just a non-denominational good human being, working to be a good human being. That's it. Okay? That's all I am. Just trying to be the best person I can be and be kind to people. Okay? And put the same energy out in the world that I want, to receive and interact with. So that's one area I struggled with. And like I say, and now I'm at peace with that can change. It's very fluid, Some days I'm calling on Jesus. Some days I'm calling on my grandma and them to help me. Okay? That's just how it is. But yeah, I wish I had someone to, kind of say it's okay and it's to be expected, to have a lot of questions about like what is this thing called life, right? And that is okay. So if I was to give any advice around that subject, whatever you're feeling, it's okay. And in time, with you doing the work, whatever that work looks like, you'll come to your own conclusion as to what's best for you. Some people, they need organized religion because that's what brings them comfort. That's what, help aligns with their purpose. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people say, I'm done with organized religion. I'm just going to, kind of do my own thing over here. And that's fine too, But at the end of the day, you have to do what brings you comfort. Because if you can do what brings you comfort, you're not hurting people, I think that's the best all of us, can hope for. So that is the first thing. The second thing I struggled with once I left the Jehovah's Witnesses was, I guess you could say, self-esteem. So self-esteem, not in, I'm attractive, or do I know how to kind of, show up and be that girl, or, not like that, right? Self-esteem in the sense of when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you are constantly beat over the head to constantly think of yourself as so little, constantly dim your light, constantly shut your mouth, right? Constantly don't try to stand out, for nothing. And so I by nature am not a limelight seeker. Like, I don't have to have the attention. I'm not an attention seeker. I don't need people turning their heads when I walk in the room, or, all eyes on me. I've never been that type of person. So what I thought was alignment, because I'm like a pretty laid back, don't need the limelight person, wasn't in alignment with what the Jehovah's Witnesses were kind of teaching. But what I realized once I left is they are, stripping people of their light, period. So they don't want you just to dim it. They want you to extinguish it. You don't need no light. You don't need to shine in the world, And so I had to fight to kind of get my light back. My dad used to say to me all the time, he would say, you need to brag a little bit more. He'd say, like, you need to toot your own horn. And he was right. Like, people do not know, like, how educated I am, how knowledgeable I am, how funny I am, things of that nature. And part of that, like I said, I had to fight back to get back to the same OT, that, yeah, I deserve to take up space just like everybody else. Right. And that don't, me being able to say, hey, yes, I have 4 degrees. Yes, I am a business owner and things like that. So that's what I mean by like self-esteem and the witnesses dim in your light. Because as a witness, you know, with the exception of the new light about college, it was frowned upon. So I didn't speak about being educated, but people had to put 2 and 2 together and say, well, if she's a teacher, she must have at least 1 degree. I try not to talk about it because you get, the looks, or it's like, or you're bragging like that. I'm bragging because I'm like, yeah, I got, a bachelor's and a master's, da 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 da. I've been teaching, like this is just normal chatter when you're meeting people, right? What do you do? Da 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 da. Your background. But as a witness, they want you to dim that. Don't talk about your education. Don't talk about ambition in regards to making money. Don't do those things. And if you are a real one, I am a ambitious go-getter. I love an ambitious person with integrity. People who get it from the mud and things of that nature. So imagine that's who you are on the inside, and everybody around you was like, no, be meek and humble. Don't say nothing. Lower yourself. Turn off your light. Don't dim it. Turn it all the way off. And so it was a struggle. My husband will say, you need to say this. You need to say that. I mean, he do it now. If it's a situation, he'd be like, nudging me like, you need to say something. I'm like, I ain't thinking about these jokers, So, but at least now when I'm like not giving it no energy, that's just because it's me. Like, okay, let them run their mouth, think they doing something, it's cool. I don't have to go, toe to toe with people. Like, I know what I know what I stand on, and, that's just what it is. But I had to fight to get back to realizing I deserve to take up space, and I deserve to, be a bright light in the world. Because the witnesses, definitely will strip you of that, mindset and essence. So I wish that I had understood that that's what had been done to me. And that, the work would need to be done. So I figured it out and I did the work, and, obviously I'm that girl now. So that's number 2, just kind of building yourself back up, turning your light back up, and turning until, it's shining bright like a diamond, as Rihanna would say. And so the third thing I wish I had known would have been a struggle for me, and I didn't realize it was going to, be a struggle, is that having a sense of community who really understood what I had just come out of would have been tremendous for me. So I left like over 8 years ago. Still would definitely mentally in as far as like Jehovah Witness guilt. That's what I call it, right? Wondering like, any day now, Jehovah's gonna get me kind of thing, right? And so if I had like, I knew people who had grown up as witnesses, never got baptized, and they was out here doing their thing. So I had a couple of, talks with them, but it wasn't like a community, because the witnesses was, way out of they, rear view mirror. They was like, I ain't even thinking about that. Either my family gonna rock with me or they ain't, kind of thing. But because they had never got baptized, they didn't, get that full shun. I don't have any immediate family in the organization, so that wasn't a factor. But if I could have just had like a small community of people where we could talk about these things, to where it is almost like therapeutic. And that was part of my motivation, because I realized that would have benefited me greatly. Because talking to my husband, talking to my mom, they can only understand from my experience and what their experience of me when I was in, right? But if I had a community like what I've created here on the channel by going live and having, members only XJW kickback and things of that nature, to where we can just talk about stuff that we all experience, whether we were born in, came in as adults and things like that. It warms my heart how many people come to the lives or comment in the long form video sections that, that the lives, and realizing like, oh, it's other people out here just like me that I can talk about this stuff, and they get it, right? And they get it. I did not discover XJW like content right, immediately. It was some time down the line, and then it was nobody doing lives per se, right? It was just long form content. So I would just binge watch content that was validating. Like, okay, I'm not crazy. This, that, and the third happened. Okay, I was right about this. I was right about that, right? But that sense of community, now I have developed relationships with people that I met here on the channel, but now they're offline, right? That relationship is continuing to grow, and it is the XJW experience that may have connected us, but it's the bigger things now, right? So it's not just all XJW talk all the time, right? It's about how do we get better? How do we grow? What you got going on, and things of that nature. So, having a community would have been, man, it would have made things easier. Cause like, I just been, this video came because I was kind of reflecting, like, it's easy when you have quote unquote arrived, right? When you're in that good space about things, it's like you almost forget about where you started because you're good now, right? And I just was thinking about how hard it was. My husband, he got so sick of me watching SJW videos. He got so sick of when he left for work, I was watching him. When he came home from work, I was watching him. And then wanted him to sit down and watch him. And he like, I could care less. He like, I could care less, But if I had somebody that I could have shared that with who could relate to the experience, I think about, man, I probably would have kind of came out of that low space much, much quicker and everything. But anyway, guys, this was just 3 things that I struggle with, that I think probably a lot of XJW struggle with, amongst many things. But if I was to give, like a word to the wives or things like that, just so that you're not crazy. Yes, you're going to question, you're going to doubt, you're not going to know what you believe, you ain't going to know up, from down when it comes to what your, religious practices, spiritual practices will be, right? And it's okay. If it takes you 15 years to get clear about what that is, it's okay. So don't beat yourself up. Please extend grace to yourself around that. The second thing, and I hear this a lot, especially for those who grew up as JWs, like that self-esteem and trying to figure out who you are and how you can take up space in the world and shine your light. It's going to be a process. So you have to figure out, do you need to get therapy? Are you able to read some books? Are you able to tap into, new classes and courses to see what interests you that could help, build you up to make you feel good about yourself and realize, hey, I, add value to the world, so then you can do those things so that you can no longer have that light extinguished or dim, because that's what the Jehovah's Witnesses wanted. And lastly, find a XJW community, whether it be, on platforms like YouTube. I hear that they do XJW meetups in person, if that's your thing. But try to connect with at least 1 or 2 people that you feel like a little bit of a kindred spirit, or y'all dig each other vibe, and that would be tremendous, because sometimes you just need to talk, because you want to get to the other side. You don't want it to where your XJW experience is all consuming, every thought, this and that. In the beginning, when you leave, yes, I think most people can extend grace to people. But as you get further and further away from it, you want it to become part of who you are, but not who you are, if that makes sense. Right? I say it all the time, even here on the channel. I'm more than just my XJW experience. That's why it's called Same OT, right? Because it's new experiences, it's my old experiences. It's just, who I am. So I hope that somebody gets some benefit out of this video. And if you liked it, please give me a like. If you have a comment, keep it respectful and put it in the comment section. If you are not part of the Real Ones tribe, speaking of community, then go ahead and subscribe. We have a good time over here. And if you think someone could benefit from this video, please do share it. And until the next time, I'm out. Peace.